So let's talk about your content optimization. You may see in your content log report that you're not optimizing your content for search engines. Now, what's the biggest thing about content optimization? What does it mean? And why are people usually afraid of doing it or of admitting that they are optimizing their content? And that's very important to start understanding, because if you start understanding this, you're going to drive a lot more value for your readers and for the people who actually search on the web. Okay, so content optimization. What does that mean? It means that you're basically writing a piece of content, right? So you write, let's do this. So you write something this, and it has some random text in it, all right? So this is the content that you've managed to produce, and it has some stuff in it, some text, and you think that it's important. Well, the idea is that if you've written this article, and let's say you talked about the latest first-person shooter that appeared in the stores on simplifies.com, and you want to make an article about that, well, that's very good, but you've written a pretty great article about this, but people still don't really understand what the topic that you've written about is. And you also don't mention the topic, you don't mention it in the introduction of the article, you don't mention it in the body of the article, you don't mention it in the conclusion of your article. So that's a really big problem, because basically you think that you wrote an article about the latest first-person shooter that appeared on the web, but what you're actually trying to do is actually write an article about the latest version of Counterstrike that appeared in the steampowered.com store. Alright? So that's what you're trying to do. And the idea is that if you're going to leave your content like that, so you're only going to write some random vague stuff about a first-person shooter, nobody's really gonna get a clear picture of what that article is all about. So that's why you need to place in a topic, a general topic that you're actually discussing about in this article, and to make it visible for people. So if this article is actually about Counter-Strike, don't say that it's about just some random first-person shooter game. Just really mention inside of the article that it's about Counter-Strike, alright? We're placing the keyword called Counter-Strike. Now, this is the keyword and this is the article. As I said, I'm going to explain why most people are afraid of optimizing their content and why they are afraid of making their content very obvious to the reader that's going to reach this article. This is a really big problem because a lot of SEO, let's call them the SEO people, in the past have done a lot of shady stuff, because they've taken a simple article like the one that you may have written about the first-person shooters, and they've started thinking that, hey, somebody's going to search on the web for Counter-Strike, they're going to want to buy, so let's just place like a lot of Counter-Strike, a lot of this keyword, let's place it all over the article and maybe say Counter-Strike, 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 and then present some data, and then you mention Counter-Strike again, and you bold it, and you make it with H2 and H3 and H4, and you make headings, and you bold the text again, and you keep mentioning Counter-Strike and different variations of Counter-Strike, like Counter-Strike Beta, or Counter-Strike 1.6, or Counter-Strike Source. And as you can already hear in this video, it's very upsetting and very annoying to keep hearing that keyword, which is Counter-Strike, of course, over and over again. And this is what they've done. And in the past, Google wasn't as good as it is today. So they've actually managed to drive a lot of traffic to that article because they kept mentioning that keyword and being very spammy about it. But that doesn't work today because Google as a search engine is amazingly smart. They've placed in some really great algorithms inside of their search engine to make sure that it's going to show the reader or the person that searches on the web, it's going to show them just really relevant information. Okay? So you don't have to worry about black hat SEO anymore, because if you're going to try and do black hat SEO on this stuff, it will never work. It will never work, because it doesn't work that way anymore. But does this mean that you have to hide from using keywords? No, you just have to use them in a very orderly and very intelligent fashion. Alright? So if you're not very sure on how to use keywords to optimize your content, you can definitely go ahead, if you have a WordPress site, and just download the Squirrely SEO plugin, which has a live assistant that's going to show you how to make sure that your content is valuable for the people who are going to search for a certain keyword on search engines. So it's going to help you find out how much to use the keyword Counterstrike, where to place it in your article, so that if a person manages to reach that article through a search engine like Google, they're actually going to get value from your article. And you're going to see that we've tried in that plugin to make it as journalistically correct as possible. And you're going to see that it makes sense, and it's something that Google recommends, because all of it is white hat and it's with the exact guidelines that Google gave for articles. And we've placed in an even better one that's called human-friendly optimization. So the Squirrely SEO plugin makes sure that you're going to optimize your content for the humans who are going to read your articles, not just for search engines. And you're going to see why your articles are going to become much better, and your content is going to become a lot less more quality oriented than before. And the idea is that when you start optimizing your articles for keywords, not only that you will get more SEO value, you are going to provide more value to the readers that are going to reach your website. Because these articles that you're writing on your blog, they shouldn't be 100% optimized if you're doing them for the end of the funnel, you know. So it's like let's draw this. Alright, so you basically have a funnel here, and this is the top of the funnel, and then you go to the middle of the funnel and you push people up to the sale point where you actually sell them stuff, right? So basically in content marketing, you need to have content that's targeted at each of these areas. Of course, the funnel depends on your business, but you need to have something for the top of the funnel. Now, these are usually the articles that you are going to want to optimize 100%. And you can see that we have another task in Content Log that tells you how much you usually optimize your articles on average, alright? But it's very important for the top of the funnel to actually have the kind of content that's already optimized. You know why? Because people are going to reach your website for the first time. That's why it's the top of the funnel. This is when people find out about your website for the first time, and they don't already know that you're writing about games like Counterstrike, for example. So they don't know anything about your business. So that's why it's very good if they find your article on the search engine, they can already see that it's an article that's written about Counterstrike. And the introduction of the article says something about Counterstrike, and then you have an image of, you know, screenshots and other gameplay stuff related to that certain game that you're writing about. And then people are going to finally understand, yes, this is an article about a game, it's about a game called Counterstrike, and they're providing a lot of valuable data, which I was actually searching for, because that's why I typed in Counterstrike in my search engine. And you get here, and this is the top of the funnel, and for this part, it's very important to produce content that's optimized. Because after for example, I'm the user that reached the top of the funnel here, and then you try to get me to buy the game, and then you can already see some other content that's not so targeted at, you know, specifying that it's something about Counter-Strike, because I already know this, because I've been in the top of the funnel. And then you can do some content that's not so well optimized. But for the top of the funnel, it's very important that you start optimizing your articles, because people are going to come to this article here from search engines, and if they're not getting what they wanted to get when they searched online, they're gonna go away, and you're gonna have a really big drop rate and very little time on site, because people get to your pages and they don't understand why they got there. And that happens over and over again. So if, for example, you're writing an article on cooking recipes for dinner, make sure that it says something related to cooking recipes for dinner, because otherwise I'm going to go and search on the web and cooking recipes for dinner. I'm going to find your entry in the search results, I'm going to click it, and I'm going to see that you're writing about some kind of stew, and I don't really understand. I mean, what's this got to do with what I actually searched for? I mean, you're presenting me stew, I'm not eating that for dinner anyway. and it's kind of weird. So that's why it doesn't work that way. That's why you must make sure that if I search for something, I'm gonna find something related to the search that I made. So I understand why I got there. And if you're gonna keep engaging with me and keep presenting me the topic that I was actually searching for, I'm going to understand, yes, I really need to be here. I didn't get here by mistake. So that's why Google acts that way. And that's why it's very important for you as a business or as a person, as a business person or a personal brand, to make sure that you have content here in the top of the funnel that's optimized for certain topics. So not just basic plain keywords, but actually topics. So use a keyword as a topic. I'm going to keep discussing about this over and over in all of the videos of Content. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I hope that you understand why content optimization is very important for your site.